All right, so for this example, I want to show how to use functions by plugging values in. So we have 4 examples here based off of this function f of x equals 3x plus 2. I want us to find f of 4, f of a plus h, and then the expression f of a plus h minus f of a all over h. So to start off with, f of 4. To find f of 4, we take the value in parentheses and plug it in for every x in our function. In this case, we only have one x. So we say 3 times x is now 4 plus 2 gives us 3 times 4 is 12 plus 2 leaves us with 14. So f of 4 is equal to 14. Now let's try f of a. F of a means we are going to take our value a and plug it in for this x value. It seems weird, but it does have its purpose. A could be a constant value that we're plugging in, whereas x is a variable, so it is useful. We are going to plug a in for x and get 3 times a plus 2, which gives us f of a equals 3a plus 2. Now we want to find f of a plus h. This one is a little trickier to look at, but the nice thing is the process remains the same. F of a plus h just means take what's inside your parentheses and still plug it in for x, which gives us 3 times x is now a plus h plus 2. It's always a good idea to put these parentheses around whatever you're substituting in. Otherwise, you might forget to do the next step, which is to distribute what is on the outside of the parentheses. If you didn't put the parentheses, you would just end up getting 3a plus h plus 2. But now that we know we need to distribute that 3, we get 3a plus 3h plus 2. And this is f of a plus h. At this point, I want you to take a moment, pause the video, and see if you can find the f of a plus h minus f of a all over h. Okay, with this, it might look like this is a very complicated problem. And while it is much more complicated than what we've done previously, it's not as much work as it might seem, because f of a plus h was already found in the previous step. We can just substitute it in. This will give us 3a plus 3h plus 2 minus f of a we found previously was 3a plus 2 all over h. And now we can just start simplifying. There's technically a 1 on the outside of these parentheses that we could distribute, but at the end of the day, anything times 1 is just itself. So this is just going to become 3a plus 3h plus 2. But here we have to distribute that negative. Remember, if you just see a negative on the outside of parentheses, there's technically a negative 1. So we're going to multiply each term by a negative 1 to get minus 3a minus 2 all over h. And at this point, we can combine like terms. 3a minus 3a will cancel out. 2 minus 2 will cancel out. And we'll be left with 3h over h. And now we have a common factor of h in the numerator and denominator that will cancel out, leaving us with 3. Now, it's never a bad thing to write out this expression, f of a plus h minus f of a all over h equals this 3. But just know, in general, You only typically need to write out this value if it is a function. You always want to write out these functions in your answers, but when you have an expression, sometimes it's not actually required. So here we have our expression solve for equal to 3.